Hey friends, it's Mel and welcome back to my kitchen. In tonight's What's for Dinner, I've got a very old classic favorite of ours. Got just some easy weeknight meals. I've even got a pie and a soup. So we've got just a little bit of everything this week. So if that sounds good to you, sit back, relax, grab you a glass of sweet tea, and let me do the cooking.
Hey friends, it's Mel. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here tonight. We're going to start out this week's What's for Dinner with meatloaf. And this is not just any meatloaf, this is Mary's meatloaf. Let's put this meatloaf together. Well, the first thing is first. I'm going to show you a picture here of my recipe for Mary's meatloaf. You can tell this has been well loved and well used. This may not be the prettiest thing, but I'm going to do like I always do. I'll just take a picture of my recipe and I'll pin it to my Pinterest board and have it down in the description box for you. This is her meatloaf, and then this is the topping, and then the end of it's down here. But this is it. So you could screenshot it now, or you can get it off Pinterest. All right, tonight I'm going to make this meatloaf in a little pan that I've never made it in before. This little scrunchie pan right here from the Dollar Tree. This is, whoops, the egg's trying to roll away. This came from the Dollar Tree, and this is a pan that I like roast hot dogs in, and the kids heat up taquitos and stuff like that in it. But I just have a little over a pound of meat here. I'm not making a huge meatloaf tonight. We'll still have probably a little bit of leftovers. But I got some fresh hamburger meat because I do like to make my meatloaf and stuff like that out of fresh. So this is just over a little bit, and I gloved up because, you know, raw meat, that's kind of yucky. I'm going to put this towel under here so this does not slide around on me so bad. So anyhow, starting out with a little over a pound of hamburger meat, and I'm just going to use this one hand to kind of mush it down a little, and I'm just going to mix it right here. And we're going to start out with some oatmeal. I like to use quick cooking oats. There's just something about using the quick cooking oats. I like the texture that it gives the meatloaf better than crackers or bread or anything. That's maybe half a cup, 3/4 a cup, something like that. And I like to use Lowry seasoning salt. There's not a lot of things that I'm brand loyal on, but this Lowry's, I have off-brand seasonings, but you just can't beat this right here. I love it in this meatloaf. There's just a few things. This and like hamburgers, it's real salty. There's something about it I like in the meatloaf. Now, green peppers, if you want green peppers, go for it. My family doesn't really like green peppers in a meatloaf. We like them in sloppy joes, but not in here. But I am going to put in a little onion, and this is frozen right out of the freezer. It will be fine. One thing you do have to watch out for sometimes when you do these frozen onions, sometimes you get these skins in them. You can just pick that out. And I have just a little jar of tomato sauce, and this is not big, so I'm going to use a half, 3/4 of this little can in here, and then I'm going to reserve the rest of it to make the sauce out of. That's about half right there. We'll see where we get from there. And then I'm using 1 egg as a binder. All right, and then we're just going to mix it all together real good. Well, I'm making a mess already. This is a little pan. Mary was a very special, well, she still is a very special lady to me. I just don't get to see her so often. But I met up with Mary when I was 18 years old and not even out of high school yet. I co-opted at a company, a nice company, a Fortune 500 company that I actually got the privilege of working for right out of high school. I spent 13 or 14 years there before my second daughter was born. I had a wonderful career there right out of school. So blessed with that. But Mary was one of the ladies that worked for this company when I went to work there. And those women were so good to me in that office. just a young girl. They took me under their wing. I think a lot of them were probably the age that I am now, and their daughters were my age that I was then. Some of them maybe a little older, but I think I reminded of their daughters. But those women were so good to me, and Mary, she was one of the best. Mary could sew. She would wear things that she sewed, which is something I was never able to do. And you would not, I mean, it was such good quality, you would never even know. She altered things for me a lot, for my kids and for my husband. But Mary was such a good friend to me, such a role model, such a good Christian woman. And when I've told y'all before, I didn't know how to make anything, do anything in the kitchen when I was first married. And Mary, this is her meatloaf recipe, and she shared this with me. And this is the only meatloaf I have ever made. I love it. And a lot of the recipes I make came from ladies that I worked with out there. And they would try to help me and give me these recipes that were easy and doable when I got home from work, that I could have something on the table that was good and quick. But anyway, every time I look at that little print out there, I remember I printed that out at work from Mary. And I always think of her every time I make this. And I just love her so much. All right, I've got my meatloaf all patted down. And I don't make mine in a loaf. That's one reason I wanted to put it in this pan. I like to make mine like thin, more like a casserole. Cooks up a lot quicker. And another reason I put it in this pan is because I like to try and drain the grease off of mine. And you know, I have those big baking dishes that are like enamel or whatever, porcelain stuff, ceramic. It's heavy. And I thought maybe I could hold on to this one a little bit better to drain the grease off. So let me wipe this off, because I did see myself getting a bunch of raw meat off the sides and all that. So let's give it a good wipe down. And I'm just going to put this in a 425 degree oven. And I'm going to set it at 30 minutes and check it. Now we're going to mix up our sauce, which is like our topping for this. And I'm going to use what's left of this can of tomato sauce. This little topping, it couldn't be any easier, but you start with the tomato sauce. Then I have about this much brown sugar left in a bag. I'm just going to put some of it down in here. See what we end up with. I don't ever really measure this. I don't know, maybe that's 2 big tablespoons full. Then you take just regular old yellow mustard, a little squirt of that. And then I take apple cider vinegar and pour just a little bit of that in. You're going to mix all this up. Oh, that may be a little much. After my meatloaf is pretty much done, I'll take it out and top it with this. And then I'll put it back in the oven and let it cook another 5 or 10 minutes, maybe 15. Just till this gets nice and, saucy and kind of sticky on the top. I love this. And something that I forgot to mention, that little meatloaf recipe, that is just so simple. You do whatever you like. Some people like to put tomatoes in their meatloaf. You like green peppers. You do whatever you like. That's a very simple recipe. And I've said before that, my family, we have a simple palate. That's how they like it. That's how I make it. It's a wonderful flavor. But I like to flavor stuff with like this sauce and things like that. I like to bring flavor in different ways. But, they don't like a whole lot of ingredients. And that's fine with me. And just one more thing that I want to say while I have you here as a captive audience right now is that a lot of the recipes that I share, I do always try to tell you where I've got them from. Most of them, they're not mine. I'm not a recipe maker. When I say that I'm a simple Southern wife and mama, that's what I am. And we get our recipes from our friends, from ladies we've worked with, women we go to church with, wives of our husband's friends, YouTube moms, Pinterest, all those places. And I always do try to tell you and link the recipes if there's somebody else's down below so you can get them there. But that being said, a lot of these things, they're not all inspiring, and there's not a whole lot new about them. And sometimes I worry that, well, everybody knows this. But a lot of what I feel like we do here is inspiration. Sometimes you just forget about something you hadn't made in a long time. And when you see somebody else make it, you remember, oh, I love that. I want to give that a try. So just in the spirit of transparency, I just wanted to be sure and put that out there, because a lot of you all say, it's so gracious of you, but you really, make me feel good and say, oh, you have such wonderful dishes and this and that. Honey, they are not always my dishes. I made them and they're mine that night, but don't you think I'm here coming up with all this stuff. I'm just like you. I am sharing what I know and what other people's given me. So let's get the rest of this dinner together. We're going to have mashed potatoes. They're going to be instant, probably 2 packs of them, because I'm going to want some leftovers to make potato cakes with. I usually always make green beans for Maddie, and macaroni and cheese, and maybe instead of macaroni and cheese, I might do some of that honey skillet corn again. We'll just see what we come up with.
Then, after about 30 or 35 minutes of cooking, I drained that grease off that meatloaf, take that yummy topping and just spread it all over the top, making sure it's all covered up really good. Then I'm going to slide that back in the oven and cook it about 15 more minutes. Now I've decided to make that honey skillet corn, and I've got 2 tablespoons of butter melted in my pan, and I've got about 2 tablespoons of honey left in that jar that I'm putting in there. I'm going to throw in a 16-ounce bag of frozen corn. Just going to throw some salt and pepper in there and begin to saute that up. It will get a little bit of a liquid look, but don't worry, that's going to cook right up out of there, and just trust this little process here. Once you get the corn cooked up a little bit, you're going to take about 2 ounces of cream cheese. You can use regular block cream cheese and just cut it into small pieces. But I had what looked like about 2 ounces of this whipped cream cheese, and it worked fine. And you're just going to continue to cook that down and stir it up until the liquid's gone. I love this corn so much. And then there comes the meatloaf out, all sauced up and ready to go. And I really love the corner piece, but I wanted you to be able to see more of the meatloaf, so I cut a piece out of the middle to show you guys. And I did make Maddie her green beans, and we had those instant mashed potatoes and this honey skillet corn. This week I also had a pack of rolls, and I just heated up 3 or 4 every night for us. This Mary's meatloaf, it's a classic favorite. Like I said, I've never made meatloaf any other way since Mary gave me this recipe, and that's been 30 years now. Now I'm just boiling up about a 16-ounce box of penne pasta, and we're just going to make us a pasta bake. If you remember a week or so back, I made that sausage and pepperoni pizza, and I had about maybe a half a pound, a little less of that sausage left over. So I'm just going to throw that in a skillet, and then I'm putting in a 6-ounce can of tomato paste, and I'm going to use this thick and zesty spaghetti sauce mix, and I love this. I make it with ground beef or with ground sausage, whatever you have. And I did put in here the amount of water that it says on the back of the envelope, and then stir all that together and then let it simmer. I just be sure and put a lid on it because it will splatter out as it's simmering. Now I have my casserole dish all greased up, and I'm going to take about half of that pasta and about half of the sauce and a little mozzarella cheese and Italian seasoning, and I'm going to mix all of that together. And then I'm just going to Do the same thing again with the rest of the pasta and sauce and cheese. I just do it in 2 layers because it's just easier to get mixed in that way, especially when I just have this smaller amount of sauce. And I had a carton of ricotta cheese back there, back from when I had made that lasagna soup. And I went back and forth about adding that in, but it had been open for a while, so I just opted to leave that out. And that crushed me because you know how I hate to waste food. But I thought we'd better be safe than sorry. So once I get it all mixed up, I throw a little bit more cheese on the top, cover it, and I put it in the oven, and I had it set at 450, and I just let it get warmed all the way through again, and then I'll take the foil off and let it get all gooey on the top. This is so quick, a good use of leftovers. We had a big old salad with this and some garlic bread, and it was delicious and hit the spot. And now I have that bag of those little potatoes that I got at Aldi, and I've just got a full line baking sheet here, and I've just drizzled them with a little olive oil, and I'm just going to hit them with a little bit of salt, and I'm going to put those in the oven for about 40 minutes, and I think I had it on about 425. And while that's cooking, I've melted about a half a stick of butter, and I'm just going to throw in just a little bit of garlic and some Italian seasoning, and I'm just going to mix all that together, and I'm going to make like a little topping that when these potatoes are done, I'm going to brush it on top of them. Now, once they've cooked about 40 minutes, I pull them out, and I have sort of a wide wooden spoon, and I just take that wooden spoon and I'm just smashing each little potato individually. And do make sure you have a big enough pan, because once I smashed my potatoes down, my pan was completely full, so it took a little bit longer on my roasting step of this. I'm taking that garlic and seasoned up butter and brushing it over them, and I'm going to throw them back in the oven. Oh, mine probably took 20 more minutes to get roasted up nicely. While that's going on, I just have my cast iron skillet with some butter melted in it, and I'm just frying up some old hamburger steaks. Nothing in them at all, just ground beef, and I'll hit it with salt and pepper. There's something that I really like about a fried hamburger steak with potatoes. I don't know, I think when I was growing up, that was like my favorite little thing that I used to like to get at the Western Sizzlin' Steakhouse, and it just brings back good memories. But I'm just frying them up in that butter. It doesn't get any better, and you can see I've pulled those potatoes back out over there on the side, and they're good and done, and I just hit them again with a little bit more salt and pepper. This is Maddie's plate, and she decided to fix hers up like you would a baked potato with some sour cream and cheese, and she also wanted one of those Aldi chicken patties. She's not a huge ground beef lover. And here's my plate. I just left mine just the butter and the garlic. Another big salad. We've been enjoying those little mini sweet peppers this week, and I like to eat mine along with just a little bit of this steak sauce. This is Walmart's brand of Heinz 57. This was a wonderful, easy meal. And now I'm going to share with you a fluffy key lime pie. I saw Falon over at Moss Family make this, and I just had to try it. And starts out with one of the small boxes of the sugar-free lime jello, and you're just going to add in a 1/4 cup of boiling water, and you want to stir that really good for a couple minutes and get all that jello dissolved into it. And you can make this completely sugar-free. My husband went to the store to get my ingredients for me, and the rest of them I didn't specify sugar-free, so he didn't get it, but you could make it that way. This was very good like it was. You're also going to use 2 6-ounce containers of key lime yogurt. Now this one I'm showing here, this Yoplait, is 6 ounces. These Chobani's, they are not hardly 6 ounces. They were like 5.3. So I used a whole one of them and then part of another. You're just going to mix that into your Jell-O real good. And once you get all that combined, you're going to take a small 8-ounce carton of Cool Whip and you're just going to fold that in. And he did get extra creamy on that. He didn't like the sounds of that sugar-free Jell-O, I guess. Once you get all that folded in nicely, you're just going to take a regular graham cracker crust and put your filling in there and make it just as pretty as you want it, or as you can in my case. Then you're going to let it chill at least 2 hours. In my opinion, the longer the better. This little pie was so easy and so good. Falon showed a couple of new pies on her channel about a month ago, and I can't wait to try the other one too. But we thoroughly enjoyed this pie. And it could not have been any quicker to put together.
Okie dokie, I got one more quick little recipe that I want to share with you today. It's a Crockpot soup. It's one of those good old-fashioned country vegetable beef soups. The only prep to it is I've got about a pound of that ground brisket that my husband bought here a while back. Got some of that browning up. I'm going to throw some garlic and onions in that when that gets on its way. Then all of this is just going to go in the crock pot. And I almost always have these ingredients on hand or in my freezer. So this is just my little go-to here. It's simple, easy, you know how I like it. But anyhow, I've got 2 bags of diced potatoes. You could, of course, use fresh, and I will probably just use one of these because I am halving the recipe that I'll have pinned for you below. But y'all know we're notorious for this at our house. You open one and then you forget about it and you grab another one. So I'll probably just use one of those, but we'll see. And then I'm going to use this 10-ounce bag of frozen vegetables. The main thing with this is all your seasonings that give it all the flavor. I'm going to use this can. It's a 14-ounce can of petite diced tomatoes. If one can is not enough, I might open another can or maybe just a small can of tomato sauce and put in there. I'm going to throw Italian seasoning in mine, salt and pepper, and then these little beef bouillon packs, they make 2 cups of beef broth. And I'm just going to let it simmer on low for 4 hours in the crock pot. Then when I get ready to serve it, I'll make a pan of cornbread. That will be it.
Friends, I just want to take a minute and say thank you so very much. If you haven't noticed, we hit an amazing milestone this last week. We're at 10,000 subscribers here, and that is because of you. I never ever want to forget to say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing and commenting. We have such a wonderful community of encouragement here. I just appreciate all the joy that you guys bring to my life, and I just want to say thank you so much for that. And if you have not noticed yet, there is so much more here than food. Food is a vehicle that I use to spread a much greater message, and that message is hope, love, peace, and salvation through Christ. And I hope that if you've been here any amount of time, that you sense that. That is my mission and that is my goal, and food is what I use to share that. And I just want to encourage you to use your gifts and use the talents that God has given you, whether it be your love for food. Maybe you love to read, draw, write. Maybe you're an encourager. If you feel like you don't have anything to give but a smile, God gave you that smile for a reason. Share that with somebody. Use whatever gifts and talents that God has given you to serve other people and to encourage and lift them up. So I just wanted to leave you with that today. You all are a gift to me, and I just pray that you have a wonderful week. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you so much, and when I say that I send you love from my kitchen, I truly do. I'll see you next week. Thanks so much. Bye.